everybody, so we're back talking some more Season 2 of Invincible on the channel with Episode 3. Despite the fact that it's only Episode 3, this is technically the penultimate episode of Part 1. Next week is the finale, which is kind of lame. That is one of the things I do hate about the seasons being broken up into parts. Regardless, it is a fun episode to talk about. We have some big moments here, some returning characters we love from Season 1, exciting conclusion that will lead into the mid-season finale next week. But before I dive into my thoughts about Episode 3, share your thoughts down below. How'd you feel about the episode? And make sure to leave a like and also subscribe if you haven't already, as it's always a pretty fun time talking Invincible on the channel. Even though we just watched Mark graduate last week, we've now officially moved into the college era for Mark Grayson, moving into his dorm, getting the full experience of college, getting a chance to figure himself out a bit more and grow as a person. And your usual fun shenanigans that everyone gets up to in college, wasting no time, living it up, getting hot and heavy with Amber in his dorm room. I was cracking up a whole lot at the fact that Amber has all these concerns on the possibility of what could go wrong if she has sex with Mark, since he is a superhero after all. Whether or not that would affect them having sex, like Mark could crush her during, or maybe he has super sperm, which immediately made me think of Spider-Man Reign, where that actually is a thing that happened. Over the years, Peter Parker's radioactive sperm killed Mary Jane. It's a true story. Read the comic book. It's a pretty great comic book, all things aside. When it comes to Episode 3, it kind of depends on how much you love the character in Season 1. For me, at least, I was happy to see him return and get a pretty big role in Episode 3. That is Alan the alien. Not only is he back, but we get to see a bit of a focus on Alan in Episode 3, getting to see a little bit more of his origin story before we see him return home and discuss Mark with the coalition of planets, Mark being on their side, despite all of their skepticism on trying to trust the Viltrumites. So good for Alan on trying to vouch for Mark against the coalition of planets, trying to sway them that Mark actually isn't like the Viltrumites. He's a surprisingly nice guy, but he's only half Viltrumites, so he's not overly terrible. It's a debate I see both sides on, and I understand the coalition's skepticism because the Viltrumites are pretty horrible. The more we see of their atrocities and we meet more of them, which we will see some more of in the episode itself, yeah, they're all pretty much horrible people. Now, at this point, I've praised Invincible enough when it comes to casting so much great talent to voice characters in the show, and if you couldn't recognize the voice right off the bat of the character who is the leader of the Council of Planets, it's Peter freaking Cullen. Optimus Prime himself is voicing a character in the show. The character that he's voicing also is an interesting one, as we learn more about his character, because it seems like someone inside of the Council is betraying them, so it's up to Alan to figure out who is the traitor amongst them, but not before getting busy himself. A lot of superhero intercourse in Episode 3, more than we've seen in a lot of superhero shows. There's even at one point a new narrator that comes in to talk over both Alan and Mark having intercourse with their respective girlfriends. Speaking of hooking up, I don't know how you guys felt about the reveal that the Immortal was hooking up with Kate last week, but as you can imagine, Rex was not very happy about finding that out. Rex obviously is very hostile. Kind of an odd rationale to explain why she's hooking up with the Immortal, that he understands her better than Rex would due to dying a bunch of times. I mean, sure, I guess. I'm truly trying here. Anytime we ever shift to the Guardians of the Globe stuff, I just don't find a lot of their stuff as intriguing as the stuff involving Mark. If there's one positive that comes from the Guardians of the Globe storyline, for me at least, it comes from the kind of sweet banter between Rudy and Amanda, since they seem to have this budding relationship. It's the type of budding young love that just has a level of sincerity to it. Watching them go on this date to the movies and slowly watch Rudy open up a bit while facing his fears on this horror movie date, it's surprisingly endearing. Genuinely though, one of the better storylines in Episode 3 is the story that we follow with Debbie. Every time we have seen her slowly hit this breaking point. I'm glad that she tried to seek some level of comfort going to a support group for spouses of superheroes, which at first seemed like a great idea to vent your frustrations anonymously, even making some friends along the way, like she does getting drinks with this guy, which at first I thought was going to turn into maybe a romantic love interest for her moving on from Omni-Man. Sadly, I was extremely wrong. As we learn when the two of them are talking over drinks, turns out his wife was the Green Ghost, which we saw Omni-Man kill a very long time ago in Season 1. And obviously you can imagine that would cause some tension in their relationship and make it sour a bit. Especially when Debbie's guilt gets the better of her and she reveals the truth about everything, that she used to be married to Omni-Man. Immediately, like you would expect, he's pissed off and recommends she not come to the meetings anymore. You've really got to feel for Debbie. We've all had to deal with some exes in our lives, some pretty bad ones, but arguably, your ex-husband being Omni-Man, I think, could make it very hard to make friends or or have any future relationships. Remember earlier when I brought up how horrible Viltrumites are? I was shook when out of nowhere these Viltrumites show up and just beat the ever-loving crap out of Alan the alien. Not only was I mortified for Alan in this situation, these Viltrumites are asking him about Mark and Omni-Man. It made me terrified for Mark as well, because they're gonna probably go after him after this. As strong as Alan is, and we built up this backstory on how he was created, and how strong he actually is to fight Viltrumites, he stood no chance against all these Viltrumites. They just beat the ever-loving crap out of him, tear his arms off. Between these Viltrumites and Omni-Man, I guess that's just a go-to move that Viltrumites have, where they just chop your arm off. The most crazy part about this is, despite having a hole punched through his body, his eye flying out and losing an arm, he didn't die. I am nervous, however, about his recovery, as it kind of looks like Peter Cullen's character shuts off his equipment. Maybe he's the spy? I mean, it seemed kind of obvious that he was the spy. Out of all the silly moments in episode 3, the one that made me laugh probably the most is when they open up the dorm room in the climax. And of all of the things that you would expect when Mark walks up to see who's at the door for him, I was not expecting to just see Seance Dog there, the toy that we saw Mark brought with him to college. This character that's like a cross between a dog and Doctor Strange. Not gonna lie, it did kind of bum me out that it's not actually Seance Dog, it's just a man from another planet, the planet Tharaxa, pleading for Mark's help. Of course, Mark agrees to, but I don't know, I would be a little bit more reluctant once they tell him it's gonna take him like 6 days to get to this planet to rescue them. That would have been my first red flag, and the red flags would have just been going crazy the moment we get to this planet, and it looks perfectly fine, and they're talking about their monarch that wants to meet Mark. Who else is this monarch leading this planet? It is, of course, Omni-Man. Mark's father is leading this planet. We're gonna have a discussion between Mark and Omni-Man next week, and it's gonna be a wild 4th episode with them finally together. As much as I've enjoyed these first couple episodes of season 2, I have sorely missed Omni-Man's presence in the show. So yeah, another interesting episode of season 2 of Invincible. Share your thoughts down below. How'd you feel about episode 3 of season 2, the penultimate episode of part 1? Did you like the episode? Did you not like the episode? How'd you feel about all of this stuff with Mark, Alan the alien, and how are you feeling about the 4th episode, the part 1 finale, where we're gonna get to see some interactions between Mark and Omni-Man? Share all your thoughts down below. It's part of the fun is having that conversation with you guys in the comment section. Thank you guys, as always, share videos. I always do appreciate it. Be sure to like on the video and also subscribe to the channel so you update reviews, reactions, unboxings, and more. But next time, I'll see you guys later.